Hey guys, Kyle the Death Knight of Anime here, bringing you my episode review for Dragon Ball Super episode 88. And right off the bat, it does us right into the nitty gritty of it by just right off the bat introducing a fight between Piccolo and Gohan, or Piccolo and Gohan fighting into training and whatever. And this pretty early on into it, we learned that Piccolo is that we pretty learn in a bit of a flashback that Goku pretty much decides that isn't necessary in order to keep the secret of the whole universe's power from Piccolo, and in a way it makes a lot of sense because Piccolo himself he's like Android 17 in which that he doesn't. He is pretty smart, and he's gonna figure out a little early on that something is up with this whole tournament. So yeah, it makes sense in that. But I feel in a way this is also Toei's way of kind of showing us that Goku is only telling the people who won't overreact to the whole situation, and but in a way that does make me question it. If he's telling the people that won't overreact to the situation, then why isn't he telling the one who's fought beside him, like who he's fought countless times, and the one who's fought beside him, which is his rival and friend, the Vegeta. Like, I mean, I think Vegeta has gained enough character. Has gained enough character and enough development in order to say, hey, okay, so this is what's going. Don't worry, I'll fight in this tournament of power and save the world. Like, yeah, I think Goku is underestimating his closest confidant in this way. But I don't know. I guess in a way, considering that Vegeta is afraid of what was in the past afraid of Beerus, I guess it would make a little sense that he would be afraid of this whole tournament too, in a way, and stakes of this whole tournament. But I don't know. Also, I want to talk about Piccolo's whole acceptance of the whole tournament power. Like, okay, I'm kind of a little iffy on the way Piccolo was. The Piccolo was completely all gung ho about the whole thing. Like, to me, it was one of those. Like, okay, we do know that Piccolo is of course a Namekian warrior. He's a warrior at heart, and he's always looking for a new way in order to get stronger, so he can defend the planet. But I feel that almost the Piccolo's acceptance of the whole thing, even without doing anything to yell or reprimand Goku. I don't know. I felt that was a little out of character for him because he is a warrior. We know this, but he also he's smart enough to know when things are out of control. So you'd think he'd reprimand Goku a little bit for starting this whole thing, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me. Also, there were two moments in this whole episode that were just had me laughing my ass off, which is Vegeta's off-screen diaper change, and the whole hypothetical argument between Beerus and Bulma that Whis concocted. And honestly, but both those scenes were hilarious. The diaper change scene, it had me doing like a double take. Like, what happened? Like, yeah, it was that kind of quick-witted, quick-will comedy, and the other and that hypothetical argument between Beerus and Bulma that Whis concocted his head. Like, yeah, that pretty much that sums up Bulma to a T, honestly, for me. And this is one thing I think I need to address too, that a lot of people seem to be having trouble with is the comedy in Dragon Ball Super. And honestly, I think the comedy's hilarious. Like, the one thing I can praise Dragon Ball Super for, if like I like Dragon Ball Super and I can praise it for a lot of things, but at the core of it, I can always praise it for its comedy, because this comedy, it feels like the OG series comedy, that like the OG, the first series comedy that we grew up watching. And yeah, I just got a lot of feels from. I always get a good laugh out of the comedy in Dragon Ball Super, but for some reason people seem to hate on it, and I think the comedy's hilarious in this. I think the comedy's hilarious because I feel that with the comedy, Toriyama is returning to his gag and comedic roots with the comedy in Dragon Ball Super, and yeah, I think it's hilarious. Um, Also, after after the whole those whole comedy bits, we do get a little bit more of the fighting, and then it switches over again to I think it was Kaba, who's looking in order to recruit others to the whole Universe Six team, and I think I think on that note, I think it was of course it was smart on Shampa's bit in order to trust. I think it would be smart for Champa at this point to just kind of recruit in order to just kind of recruit in order to just leave him up in order to leave him up to the recruiting because I don't trust Champa's recruiting efforts at all, and the Universe Six tournament proved that. Aside from Hit, of course, but yeah, but we see that but we see as Kaba is traveling to I guess in order to meet his old mentor who asks him to in order to join the Universe Six team, and we and he flat out refuses, saying he's too old, he's too beaten down in order to join a tournament of this magnitude. And yeah, and he's right. In Kaba, he was right. In order to in order to in order to survive this tournament, you're going to need the best of the best. And this was, of course, this whole conversation was used as a way in order to introduce, I guess, his old mentor's sister, Caulifla, who's basically who I assume is that Caulifla. This was that female Saiyan's introduction, and her name is Caulifla, and this kind of raises a question though if there will be two female Saiyans or if this is the female Saiyan, the one that's been hyped up for so long. I'm kind of going with the latter for right now because I don't I think getting a lot more Saiyans would be a little would be a little difficult. Would add a little bit of overhypeness or whatever to overkill to the whole team. But yeah, I want to assume that this Saiyan woman that we got introduced to is in fact the female Saiyan. That whole the one who was like that the whole the female Broly. And if that is the case of that woman being the female Broly, then Universe Six is gonna have a pretty good ace up their sleeve aside from Kaba. And so yeah. Um, but after the whole introduction to the female Saiyan and whatnot, we go back again to the fight where Piccolo's. I feel Piccolo is trying to teach Gohan a lesson that having a desire to protect someone is fine and all, but it only works if there's strength to back it up, and never letting and the will to keep fighting on, and absolutely never ever letting your guard down. And I feel that in a way the whole lesson of never letting your guard down is something that was hammered in quite a bit, because looking back on Dragon Ball Z, or maybe even Dragon Ball 2, Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z, Goku and Gohan have had a very a big, only because they're Saiyans, that they have a knack of getting a little too involved in the fight, and because of that, they have let their guard down a little bit too much, a little too times often. And even though Piccolo only used the fight with Boo as an example, I can think of a ton of other times that Gohan and Goku have let their guard down. Like I think one of the major ones was of course with like one of the major ones on Goku's side was of course the whole fight with Frieza. Like honestly, if he wasn't toying around with Frieza all that time, I'm pretty sure he could have saved Namek from annihilation. And on Gohan's side, it is of course Boo, but in his fight with Cell too. If he didn't if he didn't fool around with Cell, and Gohan even mentioned this when he broke down and started crying, is he could have saved Goku's life if he just wasn't playing around and got engulfed his own power in the fight with both Cell and Boo. So yeah, it is kind of an interesting lesson to learn, especially if you look at it from the perspective from the perspective of how many times both Goku and Gohan have let their guards down and flopped in their own way in a fight. Like they do end up defeating the villain, but there's always a consequence to their actions in the end game. And I feel that that's also it's Toei's and Toriyama's self awareness of this fact. Um, Also, one thing else I want to know is Piccolo himself. Now, Piccolo has shown he's still even though he got blasted by Golden Frieza in the in the Resurrection F arc of this series. I think Piccolo was shown that he has tried to pick up the slack for Gohan by getting stronger, while Gohan got weaker with his peaceful life. Like yeah, like the one thing I do like is how they showed how Piccolo had gotten stronger. Honestly, that's one thing I'm never gonna. That's one thing I really like is how they're showcasing how strong Piccolo as a character was. Um, but yeah, I think it's good to know that we see that Piccolo is not going to be a pushover in this tournament. He is going to be strong enough in order to hold his own for sure. And in this episode, of course, we get the hype moment everyone, including myself, has been waiting for: the return of Gohan's ultimate form. And once, and the thing about Gohan's ultimate form is, after the fight, after their first level of training of Piccolo pushing Gohan in order to awaken his ultimate form, Piccolo says he can get even stronger. Now, that of course says to me that Gohan will in fact be strong enough to hold his own in this tournament. So, Toei, don't fuck this up. I need to emphasize that. Toei, you're hinting at the fact that Gohan gets stronger. Fine. Make it so he's strong enough in order to survive this fucking that he won't get blasted or he won't let his guard down or anything. Just let him be one of the top of course one of the top tier runners in this tournament. Don't screw this up, Toei. Don't make him flop and toss him to the side. We were begging you on that. That's all I gotta say. Um, Other than that, the only really other thing to talk about is that scene with the dinosaur. It was near the end of the episode with that scene with the dinosaur and Gohan and Piccolo having like the dinosaur meat for supper. I as camping out having that dinosaur meat, cooking that dinosaur meat. I felt that was like a nice little throw, a nice little homage to the early episodes of Dragon Ball Z, where Gohan was just a kid and he was on his own and he was fighting. He was always he was sliced off that dinosaur's tail in order to cook the dinosaur meat. And yeah, I thought that was a nice little homage to the early episodes of Dragon Ball Z. And this one isn't. One last point I want to make. This is one that isn't as heavy as the others, but I do still want to mention it. It is worth mentioning. But Yamcha, get off the fucking screen. I'm sorry, for the love of God, like Yamcha, bro. I loved you in Dragon Ball, even though you always lost. You still had a likable personality. Dragon Ball Z, okay, he lost a lot, but he was still an okay character for what he was, even if he didn't do, even if his purpose was kind of shot. Super. Toei, what are you trying to do with him? What are you trying to do with Yamcha here? Like seriously, what are you like? Yamcha was there just sitting in his apartment going, yeah, I'll do this. And when Goku arrives in order to invite me on the team, they'll say, I'll do this, I'll do it this way, I'll do it this way, and like I'll make my big entrance by saying, let me join the team, and I'm like, Yamcha, get off the fucking screen. At this point, you are nothing but an annoying little douchebag. Like, seriously, what have you done to Yamcha Toei? Like, he was a likable character, he was, but now he's just fucking comic very bad comic relief. Like, at least the stuff with Vegeta and Whis, that stuff's funny. Yamcha's just pathetic at this point. But yeah, I'm rambling about. I don't want to ramble about Yamcha for like half an hour, so I think I'll end it here. But yeah, guys, that's my review of Dragon Ball Super episode 88. An extremely good episode, honestly. Like it seems like things are. It seems like Gohan has. It seems like Gohan has finally gotten his groove back, but just don't. I'm begging you not to fuck this up, Toei. But yeah, that's my review, guys. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe, or follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Death Knight MMA, signing off. Later, guys.